Many golfers say that they were born with a club in their hand. For Paige Mackenzie, LPGA player, Golf Channel host, and Spirit participant and captain, this phrase is pretty accurate.
My parents are crazy golfers. Like what you would expect from just a person that loves the game of golf. And when they had children, they said, we're not gonna let kids stop us from playing. So what they did is on a push cart, on top of the golf bag, they built a baby seat. I have an older brother who's 18 months older than me, and when he was 6 weeks old, they started putting him in the baby seat and taking him out on the golf course while they played. So when I came along, they did the same with me, and so I grew up around the golf course. And I really didn't know any different. I thought every little kid learned to play golf the same way I did, and that's how I got started.
But even though she grew up playing golf, it didn't become her sport until much later in life.
And I started my very first tournament when I was 7 years old. So don't get me wrong, I played a lot of golf, but it was still very much their sport. And my brother loved it. So that's how it started. I grew into it. I learned to love it, and I think around 12, 13 years old is really when I fell in love with the game. And I love the competition. I enjoyed going to tournaments. I liked having summer friends and then school friends during the school year. And it was about that time that I started to think about playing high school golf and potentially playing more competitive in college, but honestly, I never anticipated ever playing professionally.
Then, a significant life event changed Paige's mindset about her career.
I was a good amateur player, okay, so I was recruited out of high school. I took 4 official visits to Cal, Oregon State, and University of Washington to play college golf, and was offered scholarships at all of the schools. And it wasn't until I was injured my sophomore year of college at the University of Washington that because of that injury I got a 5th year of eligibility and was able to do an internship at a financial planning office. And I sat in a cubicle 3 days a week and I looked outside. It was beautiful. It was like blue sky. And I said, man, I wish I was playing golf. And it was the first time I ever felt like it was a choice. The game of golf was mine. And I had a couple years left of college, and it was at that moment that I kind of said, you know what, this is really what I want to do. And by the time I graduated college, I was the #1 ranked amateur in the country and turned pro shortly thereafter, and I've been out here ever since.
But it takes more than just a cubicle decision to become a world-class amateur or professional golfer.
I think I've gone through transitions in my career. I think somewhere in college and then shortly after I graduated college, I was just very intense. I wanted it, I was hungry. And now I'm at a point where I realize that every week doesn't define me. And I think I've got such an incredible peace with the game of golf. I think if you live every day being so hungry and so intense, that it leads to the same kind of emotional disappointment. And you can never survive on tour living that way. So I think I've learned in my career on tour to enjoy the game of golf. I understand how fortunate I am to be playing golf for a living.
Although the state of Washington doesn't often spring to mind when you think of golf, Paige made the decision to launch her golf career in her home state.
The reason I ended up going to the University of Washington was partly because they offered me a full-ride scholarship. I think all along my parents said they would send me to any school that I wanted, but when it came right down to it, money's incentive. I think it was only after that I had been there, and even more so after I graduated, to be an alumni of a school in my home state, in a home state that's not traditionally known for golf, has been just an incredible blessing for me. There's been other great golfers to come out of the state of Washington, especially in recent years, Michael Putnam, Ryan Moore, Kyle Stanley, who all have left the state and gone to colleges elsewhere, and then now play on the PGA Tour. I feel a special amount of support from my Washington natives, knowing that I stayed and went to college at University of Washington.
Paige brings a lot of wisdom and experience to the game, especially when advising other young hopefuls.
I think the biggest thing is for young people, as they look forward to what colleges they want to attend, is really look at the college first. I think academics are extremely important. I think that if you choose the right college, if you have a will to play professional golf, you'll find a way. If you set yourself up to be at a school that you enjoy, that academically will provide you with a good education, that if golf doesn't work out, that you've got something to fall back on. I certainly, when I was 19 years old, I was out of golf for a year because of an injury. I never thought I'd play golf again. So I always, advise people to consider the fact that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and if you can set yourself up for your future, regardless of what happens with golf, that you're going to be just fine, it takes a lot of pressure off if you do pursue golf and you have a good education to back it up and are satisfied with, those 4 years or 5 years of your life.